Welcome back to the programme this morning. Now let's get back to our top story this morning. Theresa May has won the support of her cabinet for a draft Brexit agreement. But it's just the first stage in the approval process. To discuss what lies ahead, I'm joined by our correspondent Alistair Sanford in the studio. Good morning, Alistair.
Good morning, Belle.
Let's assume for a moment that Theresa May does manage to hold on as Prime Minister. She then needs to get this draft agreement through Parliament. What are the numbers involved in that? It's not too easy, is it?
This is the famous meaningful vote, and on the face of it, she really does have an uphill struggle. Let's start with the current state of Parliament and the number of MPs, 650. How many does Theresa May need to get that vote passed? Now, we can take out a certain number who won't be voting. There's a handful of Sinn Féin seats. They're the Irish nationalists who don't sit at Westminster. They won't be there. Also the Speaker and his deputies. Now, the calculations are that the Prime Minister would need 320 to get over the line. Is she going to get that? Her government, of course, as we can see from the chart in Parliament, is in a very precarious position. It only governs thanks to the support of the Democratic Unionists in Northern Ireland, the DUP. They have 10 MPs at Westminster. They vehemently opposed any plan that would separate Northern Ireland from Great Britain. The opposition parties are lining up against it. Labour, the main opposition party, have said they'll vote against. The Scottish nationalists are likely to do the same. The Liberal Democrats from the other side of the political divide, they want an exit from Brexit and a second referendum. Add to all that the turmoil in the Conservatives' own ranks. Strong opposition means that that big chunk of blue is likely to shrink quite significantly. The group of Eurosceptic MPs is several dozen strong. They've been very vocal. And also, of course, there are pro-EU MPs who also say they want to vote against the deal because it would leave the UK worse off, they believe, than it has been in the EU.
All right, so if we think, lots of plates spinning up in the air, essentially waiting to see where those fall, do we have any indication of where they might fall? What might happen next?
The comments we've had since last night suggest there's very little change. The early reaction to the deal has been very hostile. The Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn, confirmed what he'd said earlier in this tweet. This is a bad deal which isn't in the interests of the whole country. The Democratic Unionist leader, Arlene Foster, she doesn't say outright she'll vote against. She met Theresa May in Downing Street last night. She says we had a frank meeting with the PM lasting about an hour. She's fully aware of our position and concerns. Now, amongst the Conservative Eurosceptics, there's no indication that their views have changed. Jacob Rees-Mogg, for instance, said it's a pretty rotten deal. For an illustration of the strength of feeling, let's listen to another MP earlier yesterday, before the Cabinet met. This was Peter Bone challenging the Prime Minister in Parliament.
You are not delivering the Brexit people voted for, and today you will lose the support of many Conservative MPs and millions of voters across the country.
Now, there's been similar hostility too from the pro-Europeans amongst Conservative ranks who've been indicated also that they will vote against. So does that mean, well, is it lost in advance? Where can the other votes come from for Theresa May? There may be some Labour MPs, particularly from Leave voting constituencies, who want to deliver on the referendum and fear that they'll get no Brexit at the end of this, but their numbers are thought to be relatively small, perhaps just 15. What we can see now is the government mounting a fierce campaign. Theresa May will be hoping for momentum behind the deal. She certainly wants to avoid more cabinet resignations, which could be fatal. She'll be hoping to get business on board, perhaps positive reaction from the markets. As she says, what's the alternative? No deal or no Brexit. Now, that's a stark choice that is likely to concentrate minds. Many people might be put off by the possibility of uncertainty and potential chaos that may follow a no vote. Equally, passions are aroused here, and people on all sides, they say this is not just the short term, this is the long-term future of the country.
I suppose party whips are going to have their work cut out for them. Thank you very much, Alistair Sanford, there in the studio with us.